Hey.
How's everybody doing?
Happy Friday.
Yo, yo, yo.
What's happening? What's happening?
Friday. It's a Friday.
Babu.
Hey.
Yeah, it is. I've been MIA for a minute.
Friday.
Yeah, you have
I
been.
see, Dana. I see.
Yo.
I was missing too, though. I was missing too.
That grandfather gene look good on you, brother.
Yeah. I'm trying to make it the new. Never mind. I don't even know what I'm saying. Don't worry about
Oh,
it. Either he is or he ain't. Ain't no 20 to new 30, 60, whatever the hell they say.
Right.
Do you have a special name for being a grandfather?
Babu.
Oh,
That,
so that's
that's
where that came from.
that's Swahili for grandfather.
Nice.
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 Like it.
Nice.
If Jessica had been paying attention to your earlier broadcast, she would have known that already.
Well, you know what? Basil is talking in my ear. It's just so much going on. It's only so much that the Lord has given me to be able to comprehend with all of you gentlemen. I mean, it's just a lot going on all the time. All the time. Around the finest, all the time. I try to do my best, though.
Jessica, I'm going to leave A&T out of this one, okay?
I'm not sure how we got to that one, but since we're on the topic of a legendary, did you guys see Versus last night?
I did not.
I didn't see that.
Shaka Khan and Stephanie Mills.
I just was praying that Shaka Khan did not fall.
Hey man,
And she didn't stumble through her lyrics.
hey man.
There was a lot of jokes on Facebook that she was high or that she looked a little. She looked a little too
Hey man, when she did Jazz in the Gardens, she was high.
That's true.
But they knew that before they booked her. They knew that was going to be a question mark.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, that when if you say Shaka Khan, you be like, oh. You sure you want to do that?
She looked really good.
She looks excellent.
Shaka Khan looked really good. And Stephanie Mills brought up the fact that she has 10 Grammy awards. Yeah.
Who does?
Shaka Khan.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, she has them. Yeah.
And then what I was surprised about was the fact that Stephanie Mills' hair was bright red. And
was it really her hair, though? I'm not trying to be funny. I'm just asking. I mean, I really was looking at it like, is that really her hair? I didn't know if it was or wasn't.
It was not her hair. Yes.
She was faded.
It was nice, though. You could tell she enjoyed herself. She said it. She was like, I didn't know I was going to have this much fun.
That Versus has taken on a culture of itself.
It is.
And to somewhat encapsulate the fandom or the generational fandom from each artist, you know what I'm saying? Because they've had, the Jeezy versus Gucci, they've had the Dipset versus the Locks. They've had Soulja Boy versus Bow Wow. So it's like they're doing something for everybody, and that's real cool to see.
They also had Patty versus who's Patty up against?
I heard the next one gonna be the Williams Brother versus the Mighty Clouds of Joy. Just
Cooling water.
Cooling water. I don't think they're gonna get me to watch it. I didn't want to watch it last night. I felt like this was the whole Patti LaBelle thing and Gladys Knight all over again. I just was like, I don't feel like watching it. Then I said, well, let me just turn and see, just check them out. And I was hooked. I couldn't turn it off. I mean, because the whole time you're just pulling for Shaka. You're like,
right.
Oh, don't fall. Oh,
right.
Oh, Stephanie, talk to her, help her. Don't let her fall. Don't let her fall.
Listen, you said a mouthful right there, because there was one time that I saw Stephanie Mills stand behind her and grab her arm or hold her back, like to look like she was holding her up,
Yes, like
point.
Don't Fall.
Yeah.
Was it a good show?
Hey, man.
It was entertaining.
Gotcha.
I think that's what verses become, anyways. I mean, more.
Yeah.
It's not really a versus. It's entertaining, and you can and get some entertainment with family and friends, right? And I think that's the part where you got everybody having dialogue, going back and forth. Like, is she gonna fall? Can she remember her lyrics? What they gonna sing is because Stephanie Mills ain't got necessarily a collection. What she gonna say? Ain't no place like home.
She had a lot of songs.
Yeah, she
was singing her Shaka songs.
I thought Black Butterfly was a church song when I first heard
it. Well, I didn't think it was going to be a fair fight. I didn't think her collection was going to be as long as Shaka's. I'll just say that.
Well, I mean, Shaka's collection goes back to the 70s because she was with Rufus. It was Rufus and Shaka, so that in itself is a collection. And then when she went on her own as a solo artist, she built up her repertoire and stuff.
Well,
when they match those artists up, they have to do a better job of matching equal catalogs. It was almost like I remember one versus where they did Rick Ross and 2 Chainz, and I was like, how does 2 Chainz catalog compare to Rosé's? Like, that's not really a fair fight. But
I don't think it is.
Even Trina and Eve.
Trina and Eve, I thought was definitely more comparable than 2 Chainz and Rosé, in my opinion.
Well, maybe it might be. Can they kind of complement one another too? Because it really kind of turns into a concert.
Of course,
right. And so you got to think about whether they get along or not. Who has what catalog? Are they during the same time period as well?
Right.
I think they have to keep all those other things in consideration.
Who do you think Shaka Khan should have gone against?
That's a good one.
That's a very good question.
It would have to be somebody from her era. Not to say
what is her prime, Ms. Markins? Is that the 70s or the 80s?
I want to say
70s.
It's not when she was a solo artist. I want to say it was when it was Rufus and Shaka Khan.
Right.
That was when she was putting out her hits. So that would be in the 70s.
Well, I think the question is,
I'm going to have to do live. I'm gonna have to pass that. I'm gonna have to pass that question to my brothers then.
Well, yeah. I mean, my first thought was, okay, maybe somebody like Adonna Summers might have been in that same.
Oh, that's a good one. That's
in the same breath, right? But like I said, they have to be alive too.
But yeah, they do. Yeah.
Wow.
Donna's no longer with us.
Is she gonna talk back about that?
Oh boy! All right, so on
to Roy with the technicalities.
I think I want to be technical.
Does need to be alive. I mean, that does have to be a prerequisite.
There you go.
Maybe it doesn't.
I don't know if I was going to an actual battle. I was just asking, like, who would a good matchup have been for Rufus? I mean, not Rufus, Shaka Khan.
Shaka Khan.
But anyway, today, did you guys know that the movie came out? Yep, King Richard hit theaters. It's the story of Venus and Serena Williams, starring Will Smith as Richard Williams. It is in theaters, or you can stream it on HBO Max.
I think it's great. I think first of all, you got to think about this. Who is the greatest tennis coach that never played tennis?
Have to be him.
It'd have to be him. I mean, you talking about from nothing. I can still remember living in LA and going up and down Sepulveda. Is that Sepulveda Bay? And there was a tennis court adjacent to where I used to live. And I would see these little girls with beads in their hair hitting the tennis racket all the time. And didn't realize it was that. Yeah.
Really, Roy? Now that's a testimony right there, man.
Mm-hmm.
And you would see them out there
all the time, man. Because first of all, the tennis court was in the hood, so nobody was using it.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome.
I'm not sure if this is a good story, so I'm gonna keep going on.
But you have to. I'll just say this: you have to put Serena as one of the greatest athletes ever.
Yeah,
I think that it's a good story because I think that when we talk about the social dynamics of it, how black men are vilified within the family dynamic. Right. When you talk about how so many times, society deems black men as baby making machines that leave their families high and dry, and that are not responsible, that don't play active parenting roles. And here is an individual who from day one was 10 toes down in the paint to raise their daughters, and then to plant the seed as being tennis superstars, and then to see his dream and his impartation of that whole tennis thing, for that to come into fruition to the way that it was. Because I mean, I would even argue that not even he expected them to be that. But
right. But I mean, to your point too, Miles. I mean, they really try to vilify him and make him seem like he was.
Yeah, they did. I remember that early
father, bad parent, and all this other stuff because he protected his children.
Yeah, he did.
The only other person that makes me think about that is the Ball's father. How they was giving him such a hard time because you believe in so much in your kids that they're gonna make it. That they're like, oh, he's overbearing and. No, he's a father. He's a father. Father first, matter of fact.
I remember seeing an interview when they were interviewing Venus, like early on in her career. I think it was right before. I can't remember if it was Barbara Walters or one of them.
I interviewed him, right? Latif was a man that interviewed him.
I can't remember.
I thought it was Barbara Walters who asked her that question.
Yeah, and then she asked the question, and he was standing right there by her, and he was like, "No, don't answer that." He said, "You don't ask no questions like that to her or whatever." And from that moment, that's when the vilification began to try and start, because he was being protective of his daughter. Mm-hmm. And so it was more, and that's the way people took it. People took it as more of a vilification on him rather than him being a parent to his daughter.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. I remember that interview vividly because I mean, he's like, you don't ask a child that kind of question.
Exactly.
And they was like shocked. And here's the question though, and this is why it's such a it's ironic. We still talk about the same issues as far as racism and black and white issues. He asked her, did she feel like she was confident? Are you confident? And he was sitting there thinking, like, what kind of question is that? Like,
what do you mean? Is she confident?
Is she confident? Like, I'm here, I'm winning, I'm beating y'all, and I'm beating y'all, making all these noise with these little white beads every time you see me. I'm grunting and everything else.
And that was her. I think, and she was still an amateur, but she was in a pro tournament and was kicking all their asses, like putting them like 6-0 sets.
I mean, it boils down to, think about it. They're black children playing a corporate white sport and killing them.
Yeah.
And killing them. So now they've garnered the attention of everybody, but now they want them to conform to the whole white corporate society morals and etiquette that have been implemented within that particular arena. You know what I'm saying? They remember, like in tennis, for those that know anything about the sport, like when you play at these majors like the U.S. Open, the French Open, and all, Senator, what's up? And these other majors, they have dress codes as far as like what colors you can wear and things like that. So it's like it's a complete culture when you talk about these corporate white sports. So they want you to conform, and for them to kind of defy the norm and to be something, the anomaly, which they had never seen. Two sisters that are absolutely killing, and then on top of that, when they were playing doubles, they were absolutely unbeatable.
Yeah,
like they couldn't stand it.
Miles, this is the funny thing about it. Them same rules are the reason, or the rules they put in place so you can't play.
Right. Absolutely.
But then they came in and transcended the game. Like they changed the game as far as those dress codes and stuff. I mean, because we all remember the cat suit.
We do all
remember.
What
are you talking
about?
Yes,
we do.
Yes, we do. That's historical.
That was no, she was wearing a cougar suit, man.
That's history.
She broke the internet.
That's history.
But you remember they tried to ban her. She came out with another suit. They tried to ban her. They was like,
right,
oh no.
Right.
Well, that one was even more problematic because that suit was specially designed because she had just had the baby. and it was there to support the fact that she was still healing.
Right.
And they tried to say that it wasn't it wasn't the proper something. They tried to make up some excuse. I was like, y'all are full of it. Just let the GOAT on the court is what we're trying to say.
My favorite Serena story, just to bring to culminate this entire story, but my favorite Serena story was just the simple fact when if she was playing at a time when Maria Sharapova wasn't winning anything, but Maria Sharapova was still like the darling of the tournament because she was tall, she was Russian, good looking chick, and she had this particular time Maria Sharapova had beaten Serena.
The only
and
one
Serena
time.
was so mad. She was so mad. She was like, I'm never letting that B word beat me ever again.
And she did.
Like they said that, and she never did.
She never did. Every
like
time
her record
Sharapova.
against, like Sharapova's record against Serena is like 2-18 or 2-17.
Yeah. No, I think it's 1. I think it's 1 and 18.
Something real crazy like that.
First of all,
when I say she brought her A game to the court, every time she played Maria Sharapova, she brought her A game and let her know that she was bringing her A game.
Miles, you reminded me of like The Last Dance where Michael Jordan was like, and
I took it personally.
You just make up stories. And I was I just didn't like that.
Right. So I stand corrected. It was a man. And what he did say was Venus was 14. And he asked her a question. And she said, I know I can beat her. I'm very confident. The reporter then replied, you say it so easily. Why?
Right.
Venus was ready to defend herself, beginning to say, because I believe it. And then Richard stepped in. He said, you got to understand that you're dealing with the 14-year-old child. And this child is going to be out there playing when your ASS and me are going to be in the grave.
Wow. Meant it too. And meant every word of it.
He did. I want to say, if I look at it again, it probably would look a little like when Gail was interviewing R. Kelly. And she kept saying,
fighting for my life.
Robert.
That's her name.
Robert. What's going on here, Robert?
You're killing me. Yes.
Let's not talk about that guy.
They didn't really show us Richard. They didn't show us really how he was responding, but I kind of feel like he was doing the Robert thing in that.
Right. Yeah, of course.
14.
I mean, but I remember some tournaments where they would purposely seed Venus to play Serena.
It sure looked like that. It sure looked like
that. And I do remember sometimes where I felt like Serena would lose to Venus, so Venus would win the tournament. I said, boy, now that's what I'm talking about.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
They definitely
they put them on the same side of the
draw. They put them on the same side of the bracket.
So that they can't meet in the finals. Yeah, it sure used to seem like that, Roy, a lot of times.
Yeah. And then finally, people started saying stuff about it, so then they started putting on the opposite side, and then they would meet up in the finals, and they met up in the finals with like 3-4 times.
Yeah, and I'm gonna give a shout out to John McEnroe because I'm gonna tell you this: I used to watch matches and watch Chris Everett just hate on every fiber and being of Serena and Venus, and John McEnroe be like, "No, they're the greatest. Let them be great. Just let them be great."
Right. And he was right.
Roy with his screaming ass, because that's all he
right.
Dude, even that new commercial.
I've never seen any athlete berate an official like John McEnroe. Well, I'm talking about his meltdowns were classic, boy. You gotta
be kidding me! You gotta be kidding me! You didn't see that? They saw it up there. You didn't see it?
John McEnroe was the best, boy. Nobody could berate an official like man. John McEnroe.
Listen, at one point I started calling him John Black and Roll because boy, he roast you so bad. He had an afro too.
Answer the question, idiot.
With the headband on.
Answer the question.
Hey, you would call them idiots and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, McEnroe used to go off.
You ain't a person of color alive that could get away with that.
I was going to say that. That's
for the toss show. So they wanted to they fined Serena for getting upset.
Yeah.
And threat what she did kind of threaten to shove the ball.
First of
If
all,
you saw the match, rightfully so. Like the calls are so blatant.
I mean,
like,
the calls were atrocious. I mean, and so she was. I ain't saying I that she should have threatened the chick.
Serena used to get loose sometimes. Well, Serena did. Used to go full South Central on them sometimes.
Right.
First of all, do you remember when she crip walked after she?
Oh yeah.
yes.
What?
Nice.
That's the reason. Hey, Dwight. That's the same reason why I left LA. I remember I was going to the club. I walked in and walked to the back of the club, and dudes was crip walking, and at the same time, Suge Knight came walking in the front door. I said, have a great night. Matter of fact, y'all don't ever see me again.
Bro, it was like red and blue did not make purple in this circumstance.
But they didn't always dress in the red and blue. That was what was scary to me. Coming from Miami, like you knew who to be careful with. Them out there, they wore suits.
Yes.
Suited up.
Big suits.
I'm like, I don't understand this. You gangster, you got on a suit. And then you come and shoot up the whole restaurant. I was like, I'm not going to come back. Not coming back here again. I won't be back.
Matter of fact, I'm getting nervous wearing this color of this shirt. Why? I would never wear this color going to California. I promise you. You ain't going to see me in no red The Culture shirt. Okay? It's going to be white, pink, yellow.
I mean, this would be the
Roy,
moment.
Roy, are we talking about the same Suge Knight that strong arm your wife into a picture? Is that same?
She was like this.
Well, she got the picture talking about something.
Look, now I was in the back of my mind. I was like, hurry up and take the picture.
Blink twice. Blink twice if you need help.
Hey, Roy, I do want to with that fugazi ass smile that
like she was in pain, right?
Yeah.
But I do want to take this quick moment to thank you for bringing up another triggering topic, which is yet another shirt that I didn't get. Thank you, Roy. I appreciate you, Roy. Thank you.
Look, and here we are at the same time once again. We're all the way full circle. We're getting ready to do our giveaways. We're gonna open up our gifts on air, and Senator, you're just gonna have just a box of goodies this time. I mean, it's gonna be decked out. It's gonna be right. I know who we're not gonna leave it to, and that's all I got to say. Your Ace Boom Cool will not be helping.
First of all, I just wanted to be noted for the Mockins on this call that when we tell the story of your wedding, why it was not my fault. Now that you know,
right?
Now that you know.
Hey, Dwight, I could let that go for a couple of years. Well, I'm just letting that go.
Now you know who the real culprit was, Roy.
Right, my bad, Dwight. My bad.
I appreciate the record.
Man. I don't appreciate Senator Bullard coming on here and lobbying for a better Christmas gift than me. I got a problem with that.
Listen, brother, I just want one that gets to me, brother. That's all I'm saying. I'm not lobbying for a better one. I'm just
lobbying. What you say? You just want what's yours.
I just want one.
I just want what's mine.
Look, Miles, he said, me wanting to appreciate Black Lives Matter does not mean that other lives don't. That's not what I'm saying.
Exactly.
That's not what I'm talking about.
I got you, big dog. I got you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I understand.
That's funny.
I got you.
Y'all are hilarious.
Well, look, since we do have the senator on the floor right now, let's just go ahead and jump into it.
No.
Today,
oh man,
Rittenhouse
just
was found not guilty 5 times. The clerk read it.
Yeah.
In the killing of 2 protesters and wounding a 3rd. Not guilty on all counts.
I mean, I'd like to be like it's crazy or it was unexpected, but I'll be honest. I was telling somebody today when I saw that the judge had dropped that charge really on the one thing that he was definitively guilty of, which was carrying a weapon across state lines and being underage. I was like, this is set in stone, man. This dude's going to walk. But I want you to think about the message that sends to an arrogant 17, 18-year-old kid who had already done what he's done. Like if you think about how y'all felt when George Zimmerman was walking around here free, going to auctions, signing autographs and getting paid for it, you can only imagine what Kyle Rittenhouse is going to do. This dude's going to be selling T-shirts. This dude's going to be doing speaking tours, all the stuff, and actually monetize the fact that he murdered 2 human beings and getting away with it. And people are going to pay for this. And he's going to sit around and be like, I was innocent, da-da-da, this, that, and the third. And it's like...
But the only thing different is some white people going to have to pick a side because he killed 2 white people. So,
well, I mean, Dana, think about this. He did it at a Black Lives Matter protest. Yeah. Right. Historically speaking, if white folks stood up for black folk in righteousness, them white folks was considered Negroes.
Exactly.
And so they were
treated as such. And
I think that's what this is. And and here's the thing. We are fooling ourselves if we do not think the racism is blatantly in our faces.
Look,
I would ask the panel this. I would pose this question. What was he doing there? Like, I'm not gonna conflate the issue of saying his attendance with the AR-15 walking down the street and whether that was self-defense or not, if they jumped him or not, or whatever the case may be. My question really just would be, what is a 17-year-old with an AR-15 walking down the street to confront or be a part to be in opposition to a Black Lives Matter movement? What is he doing there? Because it would seem to me that he's definitely not trying to de-escalate the situation, that he's simply adding animosity, adding vitriol, adding malice to the situation. What is he doing there? He got what he was looking for.
And then, on top of that, who brought him there? That person.
We didn't talk about that either.
How did you as a parent drop?
There's your realtor.
Say again.
You're right, Mackenzie. Mackenzie, right?
Mackenzie.
He's right.
Congratulations, Mackenzie. And then also, we'll talk about this in a minute, but we have some news about the Qs. We'll talk about that in a second. Go on ahead, Dana. I'm sorry. But, his frat showed up, and I just didn't want to just take him down and not, acknowledge him. Mackenzie, one time, Richmond Heights.
But no, his
that's my homeboy there too, Mackenzie.
Who? What happened?
Mackenzie, that's my buddy.
You know Mackenzie?
Yeah.
I think we all know
everybody.
Dana, you just all knowing. Wow.
Who don't Dana know?
I think we all know Mackenzie, even though he picked the wrong 1911 organization.
But
oh well.
That's something he did not do. He picked the best one. He picked the best one.
Oh, and you went to the wrong school too. Oh.
Hey, come on.
He's my church brother. We grew up in the church together, but God's giving you forgiveness for these questionable decisions you've been making for your life.
Questionable decisions.
Oh my goodness, where do we go from here? I mean, I feel like, we started this show over a year ago to discuss disparaging situations that have been occurring to Black and brown people, and I just don't feel like anything has transpired that's been good. And maybe I'm just having a overcast day, and I'm sure things are great, but it just doesn't feel that way right now.
I mean, it's a fair question,
and it doesn't, and it's always been that way because, and we can attest to this from being down here, from living down here, from the McDuffie riot. So it's always been a target on our back.
Yeah, I mean, look at the difference
McDuffie
between
riots, the Neville Johnson riots, then the and then the countless other stuff that happened across the country.
Yeah, look at the angst and the opposition that the Black Lives Matter movement was met with down here, juxtaposed to when the Cubans started to libertar for what was going on in Cuba. Like just when you just juxtapose that, when you just look at that in front, and one of our black, I forgot his name, but one of our black leaders down here said it best. Said, "Listen, we as people of color don't have a problem with our Cuban brothers and sisters protesting the atrocities that are taking place in Cuba. We just want to know why it's a problem when we do it. That's all.
My goodness.
We just want to know why it's a problem when we do it. That's all."
Miles, I mean, it's back to what I said. I mean, think about, racism is blatant in front of us. I mean, and you think about just our judicial system and all those other, those are all just tools. They're an extension of white supremacy. That's all it is.
Well, I just encourage everyone to continue to make your voice known and heard in situations. Don't sit back and act as if it's okay, that it's fair when it isn't. It might be uncomfortable situations, but at least leave the situation feeling as if at a minimum you tried your best for right.
But also, Jessica, I think it's important, for folks to recognize that our ancestors had to go through a mightier struggle than we ever could have. And it's important for us to keep it going, right? Like we still have to fight, but understand that there were like people who sacrificed way, 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 way more than we ever had to even get incremental progress, right? But on the flip side of that, I think we also have to understand, and I'm talking to the black folks that think everything is cool. Y'all are part of the problem as well, right? And recognizing that these are struggles that despite your level of comfort, despite the good job that you have, despite the kind of house or neighborhood you live in, or the car you drive, it's still connected to you. So don't think all of a sudden that because you've accumulated wealth or because you quote unquote did the right things, that this can't come to your doorstep, because there's case after case after case after case of folks who thought that way until their lives were interrupted by this. So, understand y'all need to tap in as well.
But there's always been a pocket of individuals who just because they're skin folk, they're not kinfolk. There's always been that. There's always. I mean, but that's a direct result of the effects of slavery and how that house Negro and field Negro dynamic has plagued us since then, since we've come over here. Because
that actually takes us to the killing this week of young Dolph in his hometown of Memphis.
Correct.
Killed by someone who looks like him. And actually 3 people were arrested in that case a couple of hours ago.
Quickly. How quick that happens.
Yeah, it's interesting how that goes down, right?
How quick that happens.
Hey man, Memphis is a town where it's funny. So it's the headquarters of a Fortune 500 company, and the people who work there, they don't want to come out and say it, but they always say, Memphis is a bad town. But what they want to say is Memphis got too many black folk in the town, and that's why it's such a corrupt place or such a bad place or what have you. You need to move out to Collierville. You need to move out to the Lake area, Bartlett, and stuff like that. And
clarify what you mean by bad, Captain. Do we mean bad as in hood or just bad as in ghetto?
So for them, bad just means black. Bad just means black.
Too many people of color there.
When there's a concentration, a gathering of black folk, that's a bad area. And of course, I always say, my grandma stay over there. What you talking about? There ain't no bad area. My uncle stay over there. What y'all talking about? There's nothing going on over there. But because it's us, and we're mostly in their minds, we're associated with vilification, where they want to vilify us on a consistent basis at all costs, no matter what. Even if you are college educated, even if you are a pilot or a doctor or a senator or law enforcement, care about that.
Yeah, and they brainwash us to do it to ourselves. That's the worst part about it.
Very true.
But I want to say for Memphis specifically, when you think about the history of Memphis, you know, a lot of folks will be like, "Well, Graceland and Elvis Presley." The reality,
King was killed.
That we know that was one of the interesting tipping points. But even before that, prior to King's assassination, Memphis had been basically the equivalent of Black Wall Street. You had more Black businesses and Black home ownership per capita in Memphis than in most places in the South, including Atlanta, right? Prior to 1968. So after the King assassination, people, you know, you had this narrative, and the crazy part about it, it wasn't Black folks pushing it, but you had this narrative predominantly by white folks within Memphis that this is a city that will not tolerate Black people, right? And as a result, you had mass Black exodus to places like Atlanta, to places like Houston, to places like Little Rock from Memphis, because you now have the stigma of the King assassination and the message being pushed by the white folks in Memphis that this isn't, you're not welcome here, despite the fact you have economic prosperity. Like your money's no good here, your home ownership's no good here. We didn't want you here to begin with, so go take that someplace else. So what Atlanta has become, Memphis was on its way to being, and folks just said, "I'm out." You know what I mean? And it's wild like that.
And that economic boom was a direct result of the Motown of the South, which is Stax Records.
Right.
And I didn't know anything about Stax Records. I had heard the songs, but I didn't know that Stax Records was that big. And it was in
until you saw the movie?
No, until I went to the museum.
Was 8-Ball and MJG on that list? No, I'm just
That's the Duty Funky Chicken record label.
Right.
But a brother named Isaac Hayes was
Isaac Hayes. But the studio,
Otis Redding.
The studio was right there, smack dab in the middle of the neighborhood, and literally people would walk and they would show you a map, and they'll be like, okay, so this is where Otis stayed, this is where Isaac stayed, this is where Memphis Slim stayed, this is where Carla Thomas stayed, and it was all right there in the neighborhood. And they would just walk over, write down some songs or whatever, go over and try and record it. Next thing you know, it's a hit. But that economic boom is a direct result of Stax Records.
We're going to shift for a moment. There was a very interesting situation that occurred this week. A judge cleared the convictions of Muhammad Aziz and Khalil Islam in the assassination of Malcolm X. But the correlation, what I thought you were referring to, Captain, was that was actually brought to light due to a series on Netflix. Who killed Malcolm X. And so there's this situation that's kind of going on that is forcing the hand through art, through media.
You know, the sad part about it, when you look at that that docuseries on Netflix, they still had all the evidence and stuff in the basement of the Audubon room. Like, it wasn't processed or nothing. They didn't do any ballistics.
It don't be processed.
What's that?
It wasn't gonna be processed.
Right.
No, it wasn't. Right. And like, they still had the bullet holes. Like, was still like it was still a crime scene from back then, from the 60s. Like they still hadn't processed it.
That is just the arrogance.
Yeah. And then the guy who actually did it, he ended up passing away when they finally caught up with him, when they finally found out.
But I thought that he was the one who confessed.
No.
He confessed to friends in the neighborhood.
Right.
But he didn't confess because
the whole thing, because when they started doing the investigation, they thought, because he was in New York, they thought that it was the New York mobs that done it. But everybody said, nah, if something like that was gonna be done, it would have came from Jersey. So he went over there to Jersey and started talking to people. And it was as soon as he brought up like Malcolm X, they'd be like, oh yeah, brother Ishmael. Yeah, he the one that did it. Like everybody knew.
Yeah.
How much was he paid by J. Edgar Hoover? That's the question I have.
Right.
It's funny you bring that up.
How much was the check that J. Edgar Hoover cut to him to get that? Because he might have did it, but ain't no doubt that the FBI pushed the button.
But I'm glad you brought that up, because what Teef was talking about in terms of the evidence in the Audubon Ballroom is similar to what happened with King in Memphis, because in both instances you literally had police informants and investigators present at the spot who then were like who were asked by their higher ups, like, did you see anything? And they were like, nah, I ain't seen nothing.
I ain't seen nothing.
I can't identify nobody, man.
I don't even know who was
how are you taking notes on the dude who got shot and missed the shooter? And you're supposed to be an investigator, unless you real life just like, I don't give it that. But mission accomplished. We out.
Maybe it's just me, but I think about, we're talking about, MLK and this Rittenhouse case, and we talk about the same theme every single time, and we know it's been going on for years. And part of me really believes that what happens is the verdict is always not guilty to make us to kind of be numb to. I'm not saying because they want us to. They're programming us to be numb to this stuff when it happens.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Because it's going to continue to happen.
It's going to continue to happen. Yep. Exactly.
I feel, Roy, I feel that way about the violence in our communities. A lot of times, man, as it pertains to us, when we talk about like how, the Young Dolph situation, and then the Nipsey Hussle situation, and then the Tupac situation, and then the Big situation, but there's countless Tupacs, there's countless Bigs, there's countless Young Dolphs in our communities who have done well or done good, and maybe have had a checkered past, but was trying to turn things around and didn't live to see the fruits of their labor. And I do believe that as a people, because we continue to perpetuate this violence upon each other, you're absolutely right. There's a numbness to it. There's a like, damn, Dwight gone, that was my dog, but life got to go on. And it's like, just kind of like the ignorance, the ignorance of the cycle of life just continues to regenerate itself and metamorphosize itself over and over again in our communities. And it's tough to take, man. It's tough to take. But like you said, there is a nonchalance and somewhat a apathetic attitude that we take to it as people because of that. Because it's so common. It's not an uncommon narrative at all.
Well, unfortunately, I'm gonna keep it right on the same path that we're on. Ahmaud Arbery. Dwight, can you go ahead and give us an update in this case? I saw some images of Al Sharpton and a number of other.
Yeah, I mean, the case is still chugging along. I mean, last week we kind of talked about the defense attorney really trying to go at black pastors, and he got a viral moment out there where he was basically standing up there like, how many black pastors can the family have? Like, literally he's going to ask this question. How many black pastors can the family have? Because every week there's a new black pastor. And he even went as far as to say, like, Al Sharpton, last time I checked, doesn't live in this zip code. So how is he able to come in and be with the family? And then, of course, a few days later had to apologize for being a jerk. But this is, I think, to Roy's earlier point, that numbness is something. And this, the Rittenhouse case was one where I was like, I could see this, based on how the judge is acting, that they don't want this kid to go to jail. The Ahmaud Arbery case is another one where it's like, I think if I was going to be a conspiracy theorist, right, is this idea of setting the stage of creating that numbness, right? Where it's like, you saw what you saw with Kyle Rittenhouse, but the verdict was not guilty. And we all saw the video with Ahmaud Arbery. And so, surprise, surprise, the vote's going to be not guilty. And I'm not saying that for people who just talking on. The case is still going on.
Right.
But one of the things that makes this case so challenging was there was a law on the books around citizens arrest in Georgia that went back to the 1800s. That is why those three gentlemen were not initially arrested. That's why that video was able to float out there for so long before someone pressed charges against them. So if you're the defense attorney, you're basically arguing that all they were doing was operating under the law, right? And the question now becomes, in Georgia, if you're using an old law that they've now, the legislature is now has changed that law after the fact, but it's not retroactive.
Right, it's not.
So if they're able to make the case that they were operating under the law as it existed at the time, you're talking about these three dudes walking away and getting away with murder, right? And so we have to process that as Black people, this idea that we saw this guy get away with murder for killing protesters who were protesting the shooting of Jacob Blake. And now we might have to prepare ourselves mentally to watch three other guys get away with murder of another Black human being. And in both cases, we saw the videotape. So that's the more diabolical mental thing. It's not just you being numb to the verdict. It's you being gaslit because now you're seeing things happen with your very eyes that you know are wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no justice for the very thing that you just saw. So it's like, did you even see what you just saw? Like, I just saw a man get killed on TV, and now you're telling me he didn't get killed.
They didn't want. Remember, Dwight, like you said, they didn't even want to. Like that whole arrest, video leakage process that took about 6 weeks. Took 6 weeks for them to even put those people in to even go arrest those individuals and have them in custody. Like, where they do that at?
Well, the attorney general wasn't going to arrest because
because there was a family friend dynamic, something like that.
Well, no, he had done work for her. He had done contracted out work for her because he was part of the police department, and I guess he had retired or whatever, and then he started doing work for her on the side or whatever. And she looked at it and was like, nah, you guys are okay. And it's like, they killed somebody. Dude was running and they killed him. And you're not going to press charges?
Blatant.
Right.
I'm not. Like, you're not going to press charges? But I will say this, though. That part of the country, every time I drove on 95 going up to school in Virginia, I got pulled over.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I got pulled over every time. In McIntosh County, absolutely, going up to Brunswick, always got pulled over. I ain't never get another ticket.
I'm not one who advocates rioting and violence and carnage and calamity. However,
but
I'm gonna leave that alone.
Look, the Rittenhouse supporters, the whole violence is not the answer. They can't say that ever again. So
right.
I mean,
right.
Well, my problem is with Arbery, where it happened is that's basically right outside the training gate for Flexi.
Right.
So as much as I went down there, back in the day when I was running, that could have easily been me.
Of course.
So I had it out with a few of my ex co-workers, and I threw a couple of prison words on them. Of course, now we no longer speak. But you get to you tend to see who people really are in situations like this.
Right.
Always.
And that's the what they call the silver lining in the dark cloud.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
People show who they are by what they support.
But one thing, if you want to call it a silver lining, because I don't want people to lose hope in this whole thing. Is
we've already lost hope, Dwight.
Hey, so you're right. Some people sure
Dwight,
have. That's for sure.
Dwight, we lost hope in the '60s, Dwight. This is like.
But what I'm saying is, it goes back to what I was saying earlier about the notion of the fight is always going to continue, right? Like people are like, I'm tired of fighting for equality. I'm tired of fighting. Like Fannie Lou Hamer said, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. But at the end of the day, these blatant injustices, one or two things got to happen. Either you're going, in the words of state property, you're either going to get down or you're going to lay down, right? So if you're going to lay down and act like I'm just going to let them keep beating me over the head and doing these things, that trust me, they're going to keep doing them. So your only other option then is to keep fighting.
Right, but see, when we meet violence with violence, or when we meet atrocity with atrocity, when we meet calamity with calamity, when we meet carnage with carnage, the repercussions and consequences are so much more severe on our side of the fence.
No.
What I'm saying? And this is why that frustration boils over in the manner that it does. And that's why people get so tired of it. And then the question that I would have, and I get what you're saying, but I'm just playing devil's advocate. How do you continue to fight a losing battle with enthusiasm and vigor? How do you do that?
First of all, you got to unify on this side.
Oh, well, okay.
That's real unity on this side. Right. Because my thing is, why am I going to keep looking for the people that keep doing it to me to be sympathetic towards?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Okay. I've said that numerous times, Dana, that we got to stop waiting on white people.
So now I'm ex-military personnel. People didn't not attack United States because we could talk and because they loved us. We had the best military. So the thing is, if somebody gonna attack you and they feel like, just like Floyd Mayweather, they talk garbage about him, but couldn't nobody run in on him because they won't get drilled. So the thing is,
he has 10 bodyguards around him, Dana.
No, I'm talking about in the ring. I'm talking about in the ring.
And they are 6'8", 6'9", and 6'10".
I'm talking about in the ring. I'm talking about when he went 50, when he go 50-0 and nobody's still respect.
My bad.
So the thing is, like, okay, if you run up on me and you feel like you're gonna lose your life or I'm gonna take all your money, you're not gonna run up on me.
It goes with a lot of groups that's going on right now. Dave Chappelle was met with a very harsh fence because they stuck together. They felt as if he was attacking them. Then you have the whole thing with I can't remember who was the front person, but there was this attack against Jews in Hollywood that was met with a lot of backlash.
Nick Cannon. That was a Nick Cannon thing.
Oh, I'm surprised Hollywood's still over with the Jews.
To your point, Dana. Okay, it's time to go on to the next topic.
No, I'm saying,
let's lighten it up a little bit because we're getting ready to go, and we don't want to go on all that, y'all. JD launched. Well, last summer he launched his vegan line, and now it's being distributed through Walmart. JD's vegan ice cream.
Yay!
And
with all due respect, with all due respect, vegan and peach cobbler should not be put on anything.
I was thinking the same thing.
In life.
Well, I heard it's very good. I heard it.
I'm sure it is, but
it wasn't very good. It was so good.
Oh, nice.
Roy's an idiot. It's so
nice.
That's something you say, Dwight.
Yeah, that is something I would say. Good job. That's why I laughed so hard. I ain't gonna lie.
You did laugh hard. You really did. Congratulations goes out to Shawnee O'Neal. She's engaged to Pastor Keon Henderson, and she's going from basketball wives to first lady.
I can't even. Again,
let me tell you something though.
With all due respect.
No, but I'm gonna say this because I was thinking the same thing, and then I realized who she was married to, and his spiritual father is T.D. Jakes, and I've seen him. Oh my goodness, that boy delivers the word. My goodness, so I had to give her a pass because of that alone. I'm like, this brother bad.
So that's that brother. That's that brother Ron. Okay. So I have seen him preach at the Potter's house before.
He wooed her with the word. All I'm saying is, since we got mostly dudes on the panel today, can I ask this question?
Yes, Dwight.
That's Shaq's ex-lady. All I'm saying is it might at some point creep in your mind. Like, I don't know nothing, but I'm just saying, like, the first time or the second time or the third time, if the woo don't come out of her, you gotta have some thoughts in the back of your mind, like, oh man.
Let's just defer that.
Oh, bro.
Listen, I go way back. I remember being in a club with Shaq and some mutual friends, and him sneaking out the club to date her,
right?
And to see the progression.
Right. What wasn't she a reporter out there at the time, or like a anchor or something like that?
I don't remember, but I remember coming in and Shaq all of a sudden slipping out the club real quick. I'm like, what? Why are you?
Listen. Shawnee still look good. Shawnee fine as that. But all I'm saying is, I'm saying what I'm saying. I just don't like.
What are you saying, Dwight?
I'm just saying, man. Let me put it this way, right? I remember in Governor Square Mall in Tallahassee, back in the day, I'm in fam. Shaq's still dominant man in the league. They used to keep a box with his Shaqnosis shoe outside of the Foot Locker. And you pass by it every day and be like, that's a lot of shoe. That's a lot of shoe.
Right. I'm gonna say this though. I'm gonna say this. I know a couple women that dated Shaq.
Oh, let me hear if your story's the same as mine, because me too. Go ahead.
And the shoe was about a size 2.5. I'm just saying.
Okay.
Maybe that's the case.
What's the next?
Maybe that's possible. It's
not a 16 and a half. Right?
We got a bunch of dudes on the show today. We're not going to be discussing.
I get that.
Right.
My question was, how do you reconcile that as the second dude? That's all I'm asking. Like,
I don't know, but here's the thing.
Does that not bother you a little bit?
He ain't the second dude.
No, but I think to your point, Dwight, Shawnee will always be associated with Shaquille O'Neal, not only because of kids, but just because of the name alone, though, too. I think that's the other part of it, too.
All right. And that's another thing.
That ain't it, Roy.
They did have 5 of them.
No. I saw you.
The comments that I heard, it had nothing to do with his ability to have children. That's evident. However, I did hear that the next one wouldn't have too much to live up to. I mean,
we'll
just keep going.
Miles, give me a time check, Miles. Miles, what time? Give me a
Shaquille O'Neal, you're welcome to come on the culture and things yourself. Jessica Mockins would like to interview you.
That's not what we're doing. President Biden.
I just want to.
President Biden.
Said Biden.
Biden. Joe.
Close enough.
Yeah. He transferred temporary power to our VP, Kamala Harris. Yeah. I believe it was for an hour and 23 minutes today.
Yes.
While he underwent a colonoscopy.
Yes.
And
so
she
was the president for a moment.
The first woman to assume
woman president
and step in.
Yep.
Hey, Roy, no comment.
You know what's fascinating about that is
I forgot who you were for a second.
You know, the crazy part is I'm surprised that there wasn't like an official like breaking of the internet of a bunch of ski-wees for like at least that hour and 13 minutes. Like
they just finding out, Dwight. They just
finding out. Oh man, that's terrible.
They just find it out the way.
You know.
That's funny.
Well, I think that we should leave on this note. Miles, do you have anything to give us about any entanglement news?
You know what? I tell you what I'll do is definitely before the year is out, we got to have a show about that book. I'm gonna read that book, and then we'll go from there.
Miles, I
Yes,
do
sir.
have something to add. I saw a question today, and the question was, why do we want to villainize Jada Pinkett Smith? Why do we want her to be the villain? That was a good question.
And we'll take that up next week. Peace.